Hey there, Mr. Reddit here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled Parents Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today, Entitled Dad and Entitled Kid Break My Friend's New Phone. After that, Entitled Mom left her kids in my cafe while she got Botox next door. After that, Customer was cool. A manager tried to fire me. After that, I am not a guide for haunted attractions. And after that, Superintendent doesn't like to delay or cancel school no matter how bad the conditions. This comes back to end her career. If you cannot stand entitled people, please let me know by smashing that like button. And if you're new, please subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. And if you want Karen to record a custom script for you, message Mr. Reddit on Fiverr. Link pinned in the comments. Entitled Dad and Entitled Kid break my friend's new phone. So my friend and I are like best friends. He had his birthday last week and celebrated it with us yesterday as we had our exams. He had invited me along with a few other friends. So we were all sitting at Pizza Hut waiting for the pizza we ordered. Basically, he ordered what he wanted. And during that time, he opened a gift given to him by his parents. It was a 1+7T. He started jumping with excitement. Now, here comes Entitled Dad and Entitled Kid. They weren't with us and we didn't even know them. Entitled Kid saw my friend excited and was eyeballing his phone. Entitled Dad saw this and walks over to our table. Entitled Dad: "Wow, that's a nice phone. Do you mind if Entitled Kid can hold it and see it, as he is also getting a new phone and wants to decide?" My friend gave it to Entitled Kid without any second thoughts. When it happened, Entitled Kid held the phone in his hand and made a small clicking sound from his mouth and threw the phone on the ground. The whole party went silent and friend exclaimed, "What the heck?" Entitled Kid: "Dude, chill. It's just a phone. Also, it's no good." To his dad: "I want an iPhone." I picked it up to see the screen had cracked. The throw was pretty hard. Friend, holding back tears: "What the heck did you just do? Didn't you see that it was new? And I had just opened it? Why would you do that?" He is a timid person. Entitled Dad: "It's just a phone. No need to be such a baby about it." Entitled Dad goes to place his order, and friend sits back down, crying and calling his parents. We all were consoling friend, and we couldn't do anything. Luckily, the worker saw all this and asked Entitled Dad to share his contact information so he can pay, or he would call the police. Entitled Dad rudely tells him to mind his own business. The worker reaches for the phone. Seeing this, Entitled Dad gets scared, surprisingly, and offers $50 for a $599 phone. By this time, friend's parents are here, and friend's dad asks him for $600 or he will call the police. Entitled Dad grudgingly pays for the phone to avoid police drama. That's the end. Friend got a new phone, and very surprisingly, no police were involved. After reading a lot of stories here, I thought that this was going to turn out as one of them. Thanks for reading, y'all. Goodbye and stay entitled parent free. Next we've got Entitled Mom left her kids in my cafe while she got Botox next door. I work at a popular cafe in a very wealthy area of town that is next door to a medical spa that does things like lip injections and Botox. Two children walked into my store unattended. I thought their parents must be somewhere inside or still in the car. Maybe they were being dropped off to meet a tutor? I wasn't sure. There was a boy who was about 8 and the girl who was about 5. It became very apparent that their mom and dad were not in my cafe as they began running around the lobby together, dragging chairs across the floor, knocking items off displays, digging their hands into the sweeteners at the condiment bar, etc. Eventually, the pair came up and sat at one of 3 bar stools at the end of my bar as I was making drinks. They started asking me for hot chocolates. I told them if their mommy or daddy bought them a hot chocolate, then I would be happy to make them one. As if on cue, the little girl started screeching at the top of her lungs, and the little boy began pounding his hands on the countertop and yelling that their mom promised them a hot chocolate and that I had to make them one because she told them I would. The little girl started crying and trying to stand on the bar stools. I told her to sit down before she hurt herself. I asked who they were with, and the boy said his mom brought them. I asked where she was, and they told me they didn't know. I told them to sit down and sent my coworker to ask around to see if she could find their mother. I continued making drinks, and the boy kept shouting at me and demanding hot chocolate. His sister was a blubbering, crying mess who would alternate between sobbing, hiccups, and flat-out screaming. This woman who was waiting for her drinks told the kids to be quiet and also asked where their mom was. The girl said something like, "Getting her face done," and the woman said, "I'll be right back." This woman straight up marched into the med spa and, according to an employee there that I know, apparently chewed out this mother and berated her in the middle of the appointment for leaving her kids in my cafe. The entitled mom put up a fight about it, so the customer came back in the store and called the police in front of me. Meanwhile, both kids are now standing on the bar stools screaming about hot chocolate. Even if they weren't brats and I felt like giving them hot chocolate for free, I can't do that without the parents present. The police showed up just in time to see the 8-year-old boy fall off the bar stool and hurt himself. One officer went next door and forced the mother out mid-appointment and brought her into the cafe, and she immediately started screaming at the first woman for calling the police, and then at me and my coworker for letting her son get hurt. The second officer went off on the entitled mom, who said she felt she was in the right because I wouldn't be gone long, and I didn't leave them unattended. There are employees here to watch them. Lady, I am not getting paid to watch your kids. I'm getting paid to serve coffee. The girl kept crying about hot chocolate, and the mom was like, "Wait, you didn't give them hot cocoa?" And I was like, no, you have to pay for that, and I can't give kids drinks without parents' permission. What if one of them had an allergy or was diabetic or something? And she started screaming about how she shouldn't have to pay because they are kids, and we should have just been nice. The officers eventually made her stop and took her outside. I saw them writing something out, but I don't know if it was a ticket. I'm not sure what happened after that because I decided to take my lunch and went out the back door to avoid her. Next we've got, customer was cool. A manager tried to fire me. Around 20 years back, I worked in hardware support for a corporation. Desktop and server support, physical network installs. Heck, I even did phone system punchdowns. This matters. I am on my way home when I decide to swing by my local electronics and media store for a DVD set that had just come out. It had a cool figurine with it. Unfortunately, my favorite color is blue, and I had on a blue blouse. I had on slacks with my tag and key card flipped into my front pocket and a wee wallet stuck in there. Went in, grabbed my box set, and I am heading towards checkout when an older man asks if we have this network cable in longer lengths. His card is just filled with different lengths of cable. His son and him were setting up a local area network. I told them I didn't work there and then added in that if they wanted to save some bucks, they could make the cables themselves, and went into a spiel about how to do it and what to get. He was super excited. Cool. I feel a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around to see some guy with a button up and a manager's tag on. He was smiling and polite and asked me to come with him. Said he needed to ask me about something, so I went. Got to the area where the bathroom and the water fountains were, and the smile dropped. Apparently, he had just started as the assistant manager 2 days before and had been waiting to talk to me. The exact wording is lost to time, but apparently he thought I was someone named Amber who worked there, and since I was late again, as well as advising a customer against a purchase, he was going to have to let me go. Apparently he missed the "I don't work here" part. I explained I didn't work there, and as I was doing this, he interrupted me to ask me why I wasn't wearing my tag, which he would need back. And he reached down and grabbed my tag, which was attached to an elastic clip. He pulled. I dropped the DVD set. Crack, and out came my tag, keycard, and wallet. So I cursed loudly because he is standing there holding a tag that clearly does not say Amber and is bleeding all over it. He apparently cut himself when the clip snapped to him, at which point he says something about me scratching him with my nails. Of course I didn't have any because of work, plus I never even touched him, and walks through the doors, still holding my tag and keycard. I scoop up my wallet and went after him. He snatched a phone off the wall and is calling the police. So I'm yelling at this point, "Dude, give me my tag back!" Idiot assistant manager.
I was just assaulted.
Of course, I freak. 911 operator probably thought he was being assaulted by the way I was yelling. Finally, I calm down and just stand there with my arms crossed, refusing to move, with him holding my tag over his head like I am 5 years old. Police show up and we both tell our stories. The older cop pulls him off to the side, then me. Finally, both the cops, him, and I are all standing there. His story seems that I was trying to steal the DVDs and I had assaulted him when he tried to stop me. The older cop simply asked him, "Why are you holding our tag?" The assistant manager looks down at his hand and starts stammering that he took it so I couldn't leave. Manager has now shown up and I tell my story again. He looked like he had swallowed a bug. Cop asked about the employee, Amber. Sure enough, she was already on the floor. It seems the fact that I knew Amber had a habit of being a few minutes late convinced both the cops and the manager. I did press charges. If he had done that stupid crap and then had just apologized, it would have been one thing, but he was clearly feeling big, and when he made a mistake, decided to lie. Next we've got, I am not a guide for haunted attractions. Last night I went to a haunted attraction with a friend. We were wearing our skeleton outfits we got to look spooky together. You can wear costumes to these things. When we check in, the lady at the window stopped and asked what I was doing out of costume. After we chatted for a bit and her showing me a photo, turns out someone who looks just like me works there. I showed her my ID and she laughed at the strangeness of it all. My friend and I thought it was funny too. We joked and chuckled as a rather large group seemed to be following us. We spoke to each other, the oddness that there was a group of over 30 kids whom looked like teens at most here without more adults. It was kind of odd. However, they were pretty chill, so we didn't pay them much mind. Every once in a while, one would run over to us and ask a question, but it was pretty chill. Then Hayride came and we got on board. My friend and I making jokes and such. It was fun, and everyone but me had so much fun at the clown moment. I'm scared of clowns, and the clowns use this to their advantage to have me say the iconic horror line. He's behind me, isn't he? And the clown saying stuff like, "We know where you live." All in good fun. And since we knew some people who worked at this attraction and were playing the clowns, they pretty much pulled me around the hayride for kicks. Gotta love having friends who are scaring professionals. After the hayride, my friend and I chatted on which part to do next. Is it just me or are we surrounded?" asked my friend as the group of kids appeared next to us with those couple of adults in tow. "Yeah, escape to the haunted house?" I asked. "Yep," she said, and we ran off trying to get away from the group as neither of us do good with crowds. Funny thing, those kids were fast. They kept up. So we ended up at the haunted house with a group of kids and a couple of adults in tow. And yup, in our group we were put in had a few of the kids who seemed very eager. And yes, questions ensued. My friend and I tried to ignore them. However, this was much harder this time, as they would go the wrong way, try to hit the actors, or, not even sure how, get stuck on the set pieces. As my friend and I knew some of the actors and how hard it is to put on the show, we were doing our best to keep these kids from making a mess of things. It was like babysitting without getting paid, yet with awesome things around. Bright side was no one complained about the fact my friend and I were having fun trying to spook each other out too. I mean, I did disappear at one point of the haunted house as part of a magic act, only to jump out from behind a tombstone at the graveyard. Best placement of an exit tunnel ever. After the haunted house, my friend and I got some drinks because we were thirsty and pondered about the bathroom. The kids were still nearby and asking us for permission to do stuff like get drinks, to which we said, "Why should we care? If you want to, you can. You just have to buy it. So if you don't have any money for it, you can't get it." So we went to the haunted maze. Again, kids from the group were following us. By the time it was our turn, the whole group of kids were in the line with a couple of adults in tow. At this point, I was questioning if those adults even knew how to speak. And true to form, some of the kids were in our group. This wouldn't have been much of a bother if it wasn't for the fact that when things suddenly turned black and completely dark, I was clung to by a screaming girl. That would have been okay if it wasn't for the fact that when she tackled me to cling to me, she got my neck, so she was choking me. So in the middle of the maze, in complete darkness, I'm struggling with this girl who is pretty much hanging on my neck. It would have been funny if I was able to breathe. One of them got the girl off me and I panted for air. Besides that moment, the maze wasn't bad. yet again stopping the kids from fighting with the actors. After the maze, my friend and I decided to eat some Halloween foods like their fried Oreos and the pumpkin ice cream. We were sitting as we noticed the kids were waiting for the others. We only noticed this. The kids were getting their after-event snacks or whatever. I was tossing out our trash as the one boy yelled, "I am going to the bathroom," and started to run in my direction, which was towards the bathroom. Terrible design reared its ugly head. I noticed between the trash cans and the bathrooms was the tractor path, and the boy was heading straight for an oncoming tractor. The boy got to me, and I scooped him up as the tractor got to us. I put him down next to me. "Are you insane? Didn't you see the tractor? You could have been hurt. Thank God you're all right. Don't do that again, you hear?" I yelled. The boy stared at me and then thanked me. After the tractor passed, he went to the bathroom. That was when one of the adults came up to me. I was prepared to get chewed out by them for yelling at their kid. "Thank you so much. You really do a good job here. Do I give you a tip or do I give it to your boss?" said the woman. "Excuse me?" I asked, confused. "Tip. You are an excellent guide for our school trip. You even saved one of our students," she said, smiling at me. That was when it dawned on me. The reason the kids kept following us around and asking questions. Sorry, I don't work here. I'm not a guide," I said to the woman. The woman looked at me rather surprised. "What? But you showed the kids around. You answered their questions. The workers grabbed you. They're not allowed to grab us," she said, sounding very confused. I laughed. Yeah. You see, those were my friends. They work here. I don't. So yeah, my friends I know will play along and we would never hurt each other. So yeah, I'm not a guide. Just a friendly person whom didn't want to see anyone get hurt. But if you are their teacher, you should tell them not to pick fights with the people working here. That's an issue. No one wants to get hurt," I said to her. She smiled and walked off to the group. I rejoined my friend and told her what was going on. She got a laugh out of it. We were chilling out for a bit, still drinking some hot cocoa, when the group of kids and adults came over to us and all said thank you together before they left. "Man, I wish my school did trips like this," said my friend. "Me too. Not sure if they really are school, but with that many kids per adult, I sure hope," I replied before we left and went to enjoy watching Halloween movies for the rest of the night. Next we've got, superintendent doesn't like to delay or cancel school no matter how bad the conditions. This comes back to end her career. Both my children attended elementary school in the northern Midwest. As you can imagine, it snowed. A lot. Even with all the snow removal infrastructure, when a particularly heavy storm came along, the town just couldn't keep up with it, and the buses couldn't run. For decades, the school district dealt with this by having 5 snow days built into the calendar. If they had more than 5 snow days, the kids would go on extra days at the end of the year. For years, this system worked, and no one ever complained, except the occasional kid that had to attend a couple extra days in June. Well, all good things must eventually come to an end. The old, mild-mannered super retired. A new super took his place. She was young, aggressive, and almost immediately reviled by everyone in the district. Let's call her Sue, because that's what we ultimately did to her. Sue came right out of corporate America. I don't know how she got in her head that she wanted to run a school district, but she did. She was so inexperienced that the school board had to give her a waiver to work in our district before she could even show up for work. When the year started, Sue went on a power trip that made everyone's head spin. She slashed hours for support staff, barred kids from repeating a grade without her personal approval, cracked down on teachers taking sick time until the union pointed out that she was violating the CBA by doing that, backed off a little but vowed to go after any staff taking sick time, stopped the weekly trip to the fitness center by the special needs class. She was like a cartoon villain. But what's important to this story, she ended the decades-old snow day system, took those days right out of the calendar, and said we wouldn't be needing them as she was cracking down on snow days. Here's how snow days work. The transportation department keeps an eye on the roads. If they are unsafe, or even if they are safe but the forecast is looking crazy for later, they tell the super they can't safely run the buses. The super then cancels school. It's really supposed to be the transportation department's call. Well, Sue decided that she is the sole arbiter of deciding cancellations, so even if transportation says it's not safe to run the buses, she can say, "Tough crap," which she did. Often. As you can imagine, this led to a lot of awkward and even dangerous situations. Buses not being able to access rural roads, buses running an hour late, buses running their entire route completely empty because no sane parent would send their kids to school in a whiteout blizzard. For 2 years, we parents tolerated this craziness, but needless to say, we were frustrated. We tried going through the proper channels, contacting the transportation department, writing to the school board. We even wrote a collective letter to Sue personally, who, if the rumor is true, spit on our letter and tossed it in the bin. Though we did get a nice message on the school department website about how they are always thinking about the safety of the students, so that's nice, I guess. Things finally boiled over the winter of that second year. A bus went off the road. Though my kids were not on it, it still shook me up. There were numerous complaints on the school's Facebook from scared and disgruntled parents. 2 years of being the only district open in the country during storms was getting on everyone's nerves. My sister-in-law is a criminal defense attorney. I am a disability advocate with a state agency, so while I'm not an expert on the law like my sister-in-law, I tend to know my way around. We met for dinner and decided that, if and when the inevitable tragedy happened, we would sue. We met a couple more times to work on our game plan. You can't sue a school district for making dumb snow day decisions, but if a kid gets hurt. The day finally came in the late autumn of the third year of Sue. We had a big storm roll through in the early morning hours. Not cold enough to snow or freeze, thankfully, but extremely windy. Most of the county lost power, including the schools. Thousands of outages, power lines down, trees down, roads closed. It was a mess. All the districts in the county closed. All, of course, except ours. Sue was never one to turn down a chance at a power trip. She ordered the schools to stay open. It was a disaster. Buses couldn't access every road to pick up students. Buses were late. Individual schools were putting out bulletins that attendance was parents' choice. Students unable to make it to school would receive a principal's excused absence. Stay home if it's the safer choice. Bear in mind that all the schools were running on generators, so the high schoolers, who start an hour earlier, were sitting in the gymnasium bored. There was literally no point in having school this day. Then the inevitable happened. A tree fell and hit a bus. And this time, my daughter was on it. Thankfully, the driver did a good job of evacuating the kids, and there were only minor injuries, but injuries nonetheless. All because of Sue's absurd no cancellation policy. Some ambulances showed up. 4 kids went to the hospital as a precaution. It made the news. It was time. The district sent forms to all of the parents of the injured kids. They would cover all medical costs and provide counseling for the kids in the guidance office, and a small cash settlement in exchange for the parents signing a release of liability. You can't sue us. But my sister-in-law and I had gotten to the parents first and advised them not to sign anything, as we were taking the district to big boy court. Some of the parents did take the settlement offered, which is understandable since not everyone likes drama, but some didn't. Some told the district right where to shove that settlement. I was one of them. Sister-in-law and I got together with a couple of the injured parents that were sick of the district's nonsense. We got our paperwork in a row and filed a suit. We filed the suit so fast that our hands burst into flames. The essence of the suit was that the district had failed their duty of in loco parentis by making unsafe transportation decisions, directly causing the crash and injuries. My sister-in-law also pulled some strings at the local newspaper and got our lawsuit a small spot on the front page. Parents came out of the woodwork to express their support. They were frustrated after years of Sue's authoritarianism. It turned into a small media circus, and I'm sure some Redditor will Google this and find something. Well, the district's lawyers got to work and quickly realized that this was going to be a mess. A discovery process pulling up dirt, the parents testifying, the general hatred of the district. Not to mention, it appeared that they would, indeed, lose. They moved to quickly and quietly settle the case. They basically sat down with us and said, "Name your price." And while I cannot discuss the details of the settlement, let's just say that all injured parties were made whole. Also, the district changed their cancellation policy immediately. Now, if there was even a hint of snow or icky weather, they canceled. A welcome change of pace. As for Sue, she became very quiet. She used to spend all day sending aggressive emails about her policies. Now, hardly a peep. All she did the rest of the year was fill the seat. As summer approached at the end of the year, Sue announced her resignation. She was leaving to pursue other interests. We think she was asked to resign. She was replaced by a superintendent who was much nicer. He rolled back all of Sue's power trippy policies. And shoutouts to our Re-Generals of the day. Re-Overlord Chissy Spider. Look at all those Rees. That's a lot of Rees. Ahmad Kamimi, Silver Diamond, Brendan, and Kiji. Become tomorrow's Re-Generals by leaving as many Rees as you can in the comments below.